Story time. I think story time. It's about substances. Now, I genuinely stay away from talking about substances because I don't know how to bring it up in an effective way. And in me, there's still a book that I do want to write around substances because I believe people do them wrong or do them incorrectly. So a couple of things I want to address. One of the biggest things with substances, and when we're talking substances, whatever is legal or illegal in your country, whether it be alcohol, whether it be grass, whether it be Colombian sugar, whether it be, different things, the biggest thing is they're not all equal. They're not all equal. And all of them are really not great for you. However, some can be good tools, not to continue to use, but it could be a good tool to pick up to get a bit of insight into something and then go out and apply it in your regular life. So, as you've seen over the past 5-6 months, I entered a really dark period. The dark period was broke up with the ex-love of my life, huge pain, father died, and a range of other things happened. So my rule is, in general, is whenever you experience pain, whenever you're experiencing hurt, whenever you're experiencing a negative feeling, that is the most dangerous time to then avoid your feelings or avoid the problem by using a substance. You can see my ex did that, and she may continue doing that for many years. Maybe not, unknown, but we can see that she did that. And we can see on the other side that I didn't do that. We saw that about 3 weeks ago, I tried grass and I was like, I think I'm over the pain bit, and I was sad. It gave me some use to show that I was still sad because I didn't know that I was still sad. And then we had to put it down because we realized too sad, and I became to use it from morning till night almost instantly. And not in a positive, fun way. Like, it wasn't like, yeah, we vibing. It was in a real negative vibe. It was in real sort of sad, bit of reflection vibe, but in a sad sort of vibe. So the number one rule is, when you are sad, you don't do substances. Now, a lot of people will go, it's useful to go and be like, have one big sort of blowout, like, broke up with my ex, cool, let's just go get smashed, let's go get drunk and cry and stuff, and maybe, but if you're prone or the feeling is really, really bad, guess what you're going to want to do the next day when that pain resurfaces again? Our brain is literally going to go, no, don't really want to feel that. I don't want to feel that, so I am going to avoid that feeling again. Now, it might just be me talking. Maybe you're not an addict. Maybe somebody else is. Not sure. Point is, for me, is like, not good. In saying that, today, I've been pretty trigger happy, and I logged in and I was looking for flights to Colombia because I was like, let's just go to Colombia. And me being weird, it's like, let's not go necessarily explore Colombia, but let's go to Colombia and let's just plug in and work on the Colombian sugar and get our diet in check and get, it'll be easier just to switch addictions. Switch addictions from carbohydrates and food. Not that I'm addicted to it, but I'm not progressing towards my results at the speed that I'd like to. And then I caught myself and I was like, what are you doing, Andrew? Lock it up. Like, I literally need to put myself on a leash. So, moral of the story is, what I really want to say is, for your life to go completely down the drain and ruin majority of your life, or majority of a big section, is on a down to begin using substances. That includes alcohol. Because once you're in there, what's happening is, let's say you had your serotonin, your dopamine, your happy chemicals, they were level, right? They were level-ish, they were okay, but now you're also sad. And you're like, I don't want to deal with that pain. So you start using substances, and then your dopamine and your serotonin gets worse and worse and worse So even if this pain was not here, you'd still actually be quite sad, and it would take you time to recover from that sad to even get back to baseline. So, if you continue using, then you get more and more sad and you've got this pain. That is how people end up on the streets. That is how people end up in crime. That is how people end up in really bad places. Now, that's not to say that when you're on a good, you should use substances either. Because when you're on a good, you just might lose your good. You might lose yourself in like, everything's great, and you'll just use substances, and then before you know it, everything's not that great because your baseline goes down. So that's not to say that that can't be a problem, and that won't hurt your progress or hurt your maximum capacity, because it will. It definitely will. But it's less definite problematic than the other one. So that's rule number one. Number two, the way you've got one to understand substances is, and this is stuff that you can find online. I don't know how much I can speak openly about this or not openly, so I'm going to use kind of, words that you'll kind of understand. But each substance will usually do something to a receptor or to a chemical, right? So if we take Molly, for example, that will impact our empathy and our serotonin systems. That will make you feel a lot of love. You've either experienced it or heard about it. It'll make you experience a higher level of love, connectedness, and empathy than your natural baseline. And if you find yourself geared towards that specific substance all the time, it means that in your regular life, you are lacking love, empathy as a baseline. Your baseline is already lower, so then having this substance gives you so much of that you're naturally gravitated towards that. If you are gravitated towards Colombian sugar, you know the people, you've seen the people that love it. A lot of the time, because that impacts your dopamine, your motivation chemical. So you get to feel motivated. And that motivation can make a person feel confident because they usually are unmotivated. So if that person loves that substance and gears towards that substance, it means in their regular life, they lack motivation and they lack confidence. So your insight into whatever you begin to be gravitated towards is what you're lacking in your regular life. So you need to go and take that as a lesson and go start addressing that in your regular life. And then you're going to, as that builds up, you're going to find less allure or appeal to that substance. Alcohol. Majority of the time, you hear alcohol in social circumstances. You hear it all the time. Oh, alcohol in social circumstances. Yeah. Do you know what most people are lacking? Most people are lacking good social skills to be able to just be themselves as they are in a social scenario without being anxious or worried about what they're saying, etc. That's why you will have more youth abusing alcohol rather than adults abusing alcohol in social circumstances, because they're still trying to figure out their way how to be social. So they need something that inebriates them and allows them to speak more freer. Now, conversations on alcohol aren't even real conversations. If you've ever actually gone through it, it's just people taking it in turns. It's like, oh my God, you said candle. I love candles as well. And no one's actually listening to each other. We're just close to each other and just talking. It's not real social skills. But if you're geared towards a lot of alcohol, your primary focus should be learning how to have better social skills in a sober environment or as a sober person, and then you'll be geared towards less alcohol. All substances create a negative impact. So even though there's a positive, there's a negative. All of them create that. So make no mistake. So from Colombian sugar to psychedelics to grass to alcohol, all of them, we have to deal with the fact that the truth of the matter is that each one of them does create, as positive as the experience is, like yin and yang, it will create a similar negative, if not worse, negative. Couple of ones to stay away from forever, to never touch, ever. Opiates. Opiates as a down. No one ever is like, let's have a fun time and do some opiates. If you are gravitated towards opiates, or if you try them, you have a lot of things you are running away from. Get a therapist. Address that immediately. Opiates, stay away from. Forever, there's nothing there. Nothing there to gain other than you are sad. And you must address the stuff that you're running away from. Very, very bad. Very, very bad. And we'll talk about it another day in a whole range of things. I just wanted to leave you, since this is a substance video. Stay away from them. You are running away from your life. Which is easy, by the way. If you're running away from your life, it's easy, because if you're like, that was good, shit, what am I running away from? Cool. Right? And it's really problematic. Number 2 is amphetamines. And specifically methamphetamines as well. But really, there's only one type now anyway. It's pretty much methamphetamines. Something I have a close relationship with, something we'll discuss on another time as well. Something that at a period of time, I wouldn't say I had a problem with, but I wasn't happy that I was using it or making it. We'll discuss it another time. I can't give you too many details here. Here's what you need to be aware of. This is pretty much the one narcotic. So there's 2. Opiates end up in depression, suicide, death. Amphetamines end up in loss of everything around you, crime, jail, bad, depression as well. Here's what happens. Amphetamines on the brain is, we get, it impacts the dopamine systems and a little bit of serotonin, but mainly dopamine. Well, dopamine and serotonin. Serotonin as well. So what you're going to find is, let's say cigarettes create 1 point of serotonin, 1 point of pleasure. Food creates another point of pleasure. So you can have a pizza, then you can have an ice cream, which gives you another point of pleasure, and then you can have a cigarette afterwards, it gives you 3 points of pleasure. So you have 3 points of pleasure. Cool. You can have sex, then you can have a cigarette afterwards, 2 points of pleasure, or 2.5 points. You can do a cold plunge pool and get 1.5 points of pleasure. You can do Colombian sugar, and that's 1.5 points of pleasure. You can do Colombian sugar and then jump in a cold pool, and that's 3 points of pleasure. Right? You're getting the drift, right? You can sort of begin to max out things, and you can probably reach, if you stack things together, to 4 to 5 points of pleasure, maybe, in an experience. Amphetamines hit you with 10 points of pleasure at 1 point. Sounds good, right? Great, I want 10 points of pleasure. Here's the problem. We are monkey brains. You and I, we're monkey brains. Once your brain experiences 10 points of pleasure once, your brain, from there on in, sees everything else that only provides 1 point of pleasure or 2 points of pleasure as useless, not motivating, not exciting, rubbish. So, if I was motivated before to build my business, your brain knows that's only going to provide 1 or 2 points of pleasure. Not interested. Oh, human connection, family, that's only 1 point of pleasure. Not interested. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, 3 points of pleasure. No, not interested. Cigarettes, food, not interested. Your brain immediately just goes, zoom. This is the only thing that matters. Some people can say, I tried it once. Cool, no worries. It's going to take your brain 2 years to forget that something of that high pleasure exists anywhere. Meaning, just touching it once impacts your mental health for 1 to 2 years. Just once. Impacts your progress in life, impacts your mental health. And we're not talking about even consistent use. In itself, there's nothing to gain from it. Just like Colombian sugar, I'm more motivated. This one, it's like, I'm more pleasure and more motivated and I got nothing to do other than to do more of the pleasure. Because understand, you've done this thing which causes 10 points of pleasure, then you're like, what are we going to do? I guess we'll sit and wait until we can do more 10 points of pleasure. There's nothing else to do. So the problem with these substances, or specifically amphetamines, is the only thing that begins to gear towards is how to do more of the same substance. And your brain just goes to that, full stop. You can't hijack it. You can't brain think it out of it. And that's why most people will then go sober for 3 months and then end up going back on it, relapse, because they do regular life. I still remember going to like have a coffee with a friend and then going to see a movie, and it's like, it just didn't hit. It just didn't, like it didn't hit. It just doesn't hit. It's depressing. It doesn't hit. It doesn't hit the same. It's not that good. So life by itself becomes bleak. Life completely becomes bleak. It is a major problem. So stay away from opiates, stay away from amphetamines forever. There's nothing to gain there. All the other substances, I can't give you everything in one video. They have things to show you. If you're geared towards them for whatever reason, it's an access to show you what you're lacking in your life. Otherwise, they can be just an enjoyable experience. So if you find that you can have an enjoyable experience with something, but then you don't need to go and abuse it, it means you can probably recreationally, if in a safe place and if it's legal in your country, you can probably use that substance. And if you're not geared towards it, you can sprinkle it wherever it fits. And it's interesting. So why I'm talking about it is today being in Colombia, and I was like, I want to go Colombia for a month and just to plug in work. Guess what I'm lacking right now? I'm lacking motivation right now. And Colombian sugar will make you kind of gear in on it, especially my brain, and it'll be like, right, just laser focused on this, then laser focused on this, then laser focused on that. And I'm struggling to laser focus on one thing at a time right now. So I'm naturally geared towards a substance that I know that can help me with that, but then I become reliant on the substance and that becomes a problem, so I can't do that. So being well versed in substances, I can now tell if I'm geared towards a certain substance outside of like, oh, I just want to create a magical experience, and I'm like, nah, I just want that. It means I am struggling with that in my normal life. I don't even need to touch the substance for it already to give me the lesson that it needs to give me, and then I go back into my real world and go and address it. That's the reality of it. So I don't know. I speak a lot about substances up and down, and I just wanted to come in today, and also partially because I haven't started my diet yet again. I was, full disclosure, I was going to fast today, didn't work, so I'm rewriting the script again, and I think that's where I'm screwing up. I'm going like, I'm going to fast immediately, do all the cardio, do all this. I think what I need to do is I'm going to be like the opposite. I need to just get into ketosis, which is I need to get rid of the main culprit, which is my clear carb addiction at the moment, because I'm addicted to that energy at the moment. So by not eating, by fasting, or by like squishing that addiction immediately and being like, I'm just going to go cold turkey, that's very difficult for me to do, and I'm hating myself that I can't do it. I have been able to do it previously, but at the moment it's obviously hard because I don't have a lot of positives in my other sides, and there's just a lot of moving parts. So partially because of that, I was like, you know what, let's talk about substances. Let's avoid my out of integrity with myself because I'm hating myself a little bit. But it's also something that I talk a lot about. So I wanted to share some of my views because you may be interested, you may not be interested. And I also feel like it's important for me to address, for you to know where my stance is and my views are. Now, in other times, we will talk about, and maybe leave comments as well of what you kind of want to know specifically. I love substances when they're used in an artful way and they're used in a way to create magical moments. But you need to have your life in order for that. You need to not be running away from pain. You need to have the access to be able to be like, okay, then there's going to be a down. How am I going to deal with that down? Like, can I afford to have that down? Can I not afford to have that down? With alcohol, I don't drink anymore. I can't afford to have the down of alcohol because it hurts my training and it hurts my gym. And gym affects my self-confidence and my importance of myself, and it affects how I feel in my body. I can't really have alcohol. It's pretty much, there's never a time where I can afford that down. Occasionally I forget, and once every 2 years or once a year I have that down, and it's not that great, you know? That's it. But I wanted to address it because if you're ever interested in it, if you have been interested, if you've used before, not used, I think this will give you an interesting access into how to look at substances, because this is a very unique view of it. And also, if you're watching yesterday or the day before, you know how I said I really have found out that I have a really high IQ and that I'm a couple points off Mensa, which is like the smartest people in the world. I did my full research and I was like, is that actually factual? It is. Anything above 130 is Mensa. So I'm either 136 or 180. So I am actually in the top percentile brains-wise of the entire world. I don't know how to be non-egotistical about that, but it's a lot of my self-love and being like realizing like, oh, so I'm quite capable and I do think about things differently. So therefore, I think in yesterday's video and in this video already, I've become more of a clear speaker, or more clear in being able to describe things, because I'm realizing what I see, not everybody sees. So I have to be able to describe it in a way that makes sense for everybody. Not to say that you're not smart or you're not smart. It's I have to use my intellect to be able to take a complex idea and put it into bite-sized forms, and to be able to explain what I see to make it easy to understand for the viewer or the listener. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, that's today's video. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.